Good morning. Gonna make an audio this morning. So I posted this article the other day, yesterday or whatever, and it's pretty long, and I know people don't like to read the long stuff. So I am going to read it and make an audio out of it so I can post it on my site. So without further ado, let's get this thing started. I'm going to read this. So it might be, it's kind of long. I don't know, 20 minutes or so. But I will be reading from the Richardson Post. The article was written by Howell Woltz, and the reference is in the body of the post, the body of the video. This is being broadcast live on YouTube and Facebook. And without further ado, I'm going to read this article. So enjoy. If you don't like to read, you can listen. And like I said, the audio version will be posted. So off the Richardson Post, dead men don't need impeachment. Swamp in panic, Trump in danger, by Howell Woltz. October 3rd, 2019 is when this was put out. So it's been out for a little bit. It's just now starting to surface. I think Facebook is probably holding it down as my post hasn't been seen. So without further ado, the man on the left flew to New York to beg for Donald Trump's support in his 2012 run for president against Barack Hussein Obama. He came to Trump again when he ran for the U.S. Senate after somehow losing the presidency to a socialist Muslim no one had ever heard of before. Trump graciously helped him again. But Mitt Romney, a sorry politrickster, he is a sorry politrickster. He let Manchurian candidate Barack Obama smoke him in the presidential race, but he won a seat in the Senate. So Trump backs Romney twice. But when last week's flap over the phone call exploded, Romney was the first to condemn the president. Say what? What had Trump done? As executive of the United States back in August, he had a friendly conversation with the newly elected anti-corruption Ukraine president, Volodymyr Zelensky, congratulating him on his election and encouraging him to look into sinister activities involving Ukraine in the American election back in 2016. What could possibly be wrong with that? And Ukrainian President Zelensky said he was already doing just that. Let me get this up here bigger for you guys. There we go. Maybe it's easier for you to see. So when hapless Mitt Romney condemned President Trump before even reading the transcript of the call, I immediately knew something was up. When I read it, there was absolutely nothing even interesting, much less amiss. Why was Romney worried about Ukraine? It was clear that there was more to the story, but absent Romney's baseless and immediate attack, I must admit that we never would have investigated, but oh boy, I'm glad we did. Background. In May of this year, 2019, the Russian collusion narrative was proven a hoax by the Mueller report. Considering the fact that all 18 of the investigators were devout Hillary fans and contributors, tells me that if something was there, we would know. President Trump then ordered his personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, former 911 mayor of New York and famous prosecutor of mobsters, as well as Attorney General William Barr, to find the origins of the expensive hoax that locked down the first year of his presidency. A fair question. So just yesterday, we learned Giuliani and Barr had traveled to meet with foreign leaders whose nations assisted in the attempted coup by passing the corrupt institutions of government that had participated in it. Why? It's rather obvious. The CIA, NSA, DNI, and FBI were compromised. It was actually these corrupt pieces of the U.S. apparatus of state that led the coup and solicited foreign nations to play a role. So this was a wise but completely unexpected move by Trump. That's the specialty, and that is what will save him. Or that is his specialty, and that is what will save him. By May of 2019, it was also known that Democrats solicited Ukraine to dig up dirt on the Trump campaign, which has now been admitted by Ukraine, using these same U.S. government entities as conduits to assist the DNC, the Democrat National Committee, using a Ukraine-American spy, Alexandra Chalupa. This was all confirmed by Politico in its rather amazing article published January 11th, 2017. They are extremely anti-Trump, but it's out there. The Ukraine admitted what was done and apologized. Then it gives the reference to the article. We also showed you a video last week of Vice President Joe Biden. He was bragging to the Council on Foreign Relations back in 2014 about exhorting the Ukraine government into firing its prosecutor general, Viktor Shokin. As part of the corruption, President Trump asked the new Ukraine president to look into Biden forced Ukraine through extortion in the amount of $1.2 billion to shut down the investigation of his son, Hunter, and Ukrainian company Burisma Holdings. The fake news media trumped again. September 24th, the Pickering Post but you'll have to search for the video now. Surprise, surprise, it has been taken down after posting, "Hey, Harry, we're being noticed." Among the corruption being investigated, Burisma Holdings was playing Rosemont Seneca, owned by Vice President Biden's son, Hunter. They were paying him $166,000 per month to consult. Holy cow. What a salary, eh? His partners were Secretary of State John Kerry's stepson and FBI murderer Boston gang boss Whitey Bulger's nephew. Nothing to see here. In addition, the vice president's son, Hunter, was being paid $50,000 each month to sit on the board of the natural gas company as its legal advisor, despite having no experience in Ukrainian law or natural gas. But hey, I can get $166,000 a month for knowing nothing, right? Because of who my dad is, my daddy. The Democrats clearly expected Trump to either let all this go like most rhinos would or leave it to their deep state operatives to investigate. The Dems knew their deep state rats would prevent any meaningful review. They would make sure that Trump's promise to get to the bottom of it was enough to satisfy pissed off Trump supporters without really getting near the bottom. Meanwhile, they would get away with it as they had the Russia hoax, the Hillary Clinton cover-up, and the rest, including rapes, murders, and even treason. No Dem ever pays for corruption in Washington, D.C. Everybody knows this. It's common fact. What works for one side does not work for the other. There's no doubt about that. They are corrupt, evil people. But there is a new sheriff in town, folks, Mr. Donald J. Trump. He is not a rhino or D.C. insider. He's a tough guy billionaire from Queens, New York, and a street fighter. That's why a lot of people don't like how he says things and stuff. He is a rough and tough tumble guy. He's not a politician that's going to stroke you and make you feel good with his words. He's going to tell it like it is. When the Democrats realized last week that Trump was actually heading up his own investigation rather than leaving it to their deep state apparatchiks, and doing so directly with the leaders of Ukraine, Australia, and Italy, and perhaps the UK, they did the political equivalent of starting a fire in a theater. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced impeachment proceedings against the president just 3 hours after stating in a speech that she would not. Speaker Pelosi had zero evidence cause, stated reason, and lacked the required vote of the House of Representatives to do so, but announced it anyway. Strangely enough, and what caught my attention, Mitt Romney jumped on the impeach Trump train the same day. How did Nancy go from there will be no impeachment proceedings that morning in New York to announcing impeachment proceedings that afternoon when she got back to Washington, D.C.? I don't know. The caption on this picture: meet the Grand Master of the deep state in America, admitted communist John Brennan, who has some serious explaining to do now that the attempted coup of U.S. President Donald Trump has been exposed and continues. All right, so why did Romney want to shut down any investigation of Ukraine's role as well? That's the question that got this investigation started, and it's shocking. Romney's national security advisor, Joseph Cofer Black, sits on the board of the same Burisma Holdings that was being investigated for corruption back in 2014. And the vice president and Obama administration demanded be shut down. Why? Because Burisma is their vehicle for corrupt practices in Eastern Europe. And CIA Director John Brennan's 911 deep state partner, Cofer Black, is still the link to all that goes on there. In fact, I can state unequivocally that Burisma is the center of Ukraine corruption and the Democrats' shadow organization for corrupt activities. I live in Eastern Europe, Poland, and my sources are firsthand. And I know this matters greatly to Mitt Romney, as he is not yet done with politics. If Black is busted, it will reflect on Romney, and it only makes sense that Cofer Black is the deep state plant in case Romney ever rises above polishing knobs in the U.S. Senate. Romney wants to run for president again in 2024. 2024, we may see Romney's name on a ballot. Remember him. Don't forget him. And the corrupt person that he is. And if he wins, Cofer Black will be back in his fingers on the strings, either as DNI or CIA chief of corruption. Burisma Holdings is the hub of the U.S. Democrat activities to corrupt both Ukraine and American politics. And there is proof. Ukraine President Zelensky's win surprised both Brennan and Black's deep state ops as much as Trump's did in 2016 in America. So who is this Cofer Black guy? Joseph Cofer Black joined the CIA in 1974 and rose to be the director of the National Counterterrorism Center before joining Mitt Romney. If it were not for researching this article, I admit he was unknown to me as well. What a revelation. Black was also the head of counterintelligence, who somehow missed the 911 attacks on New York and Washington, though, according to The Economist, 16 foreign leaders and heads of intelligence agencies warned him it was not only going to happen, but when. Oh, well, and nothing was done about Cofer Black for this, indicating this is what the deep state wanted. But it goes deeper. John Brennan and this guy Cofer Black are how 19 terrorists got into the USA to attack the US on 911. Editor Harry will jump on me or make Nurse Ratched give me a dose of castor oil if I say something I can't prove. So I'm just going to quote the CIA whistleblower at the Jeddah, Saudi Arabia CIA staff hearing, who is the source. According to Freedom Outpost, Brennan was the CIA station chief in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, when the 911 hijackers were given visas to travel to the United States. In September 2014, a whistleblower named Greg Ford, a former military intelligence officer, told Ground Zero Radio's Clyde Lewis that the CIA had objections to the approval of those visas, but Brennan actually overrode them. The second in command of the CIA station was directly quoted by the whistleblower as saying, "No way. Absolutely, we are not going to stamp those visas." But CIA Saudi citation chief John Brennan overrode the officer in charge and ordered the visas to be stamped and issued. They came, they learned to take off an airplane, but said they were not interested in how to land one. Imagine that. You want to get in the air, but you already have a plan how to get it down. Cofer Black ignored the reports about this strange behavior, though it was made, I know as a fact, from the people who made it. I was also a Florida-based pilot in 2001. You know the rest of the story. America lost over 3,000 citizens that day, and I sat for an hour trying to get past the terrorist pilot's apartment in Coral Springs, Florida. Freedom Outpost concluded, if it weren't for John Brennan, 911 may never have happened. I'd add to that, if Cofer Black weren't the head of the counterterrorism, Brennan could not have gotten his men in to do the job. It took these two to tango. That's an opinion, not news, but I'll bet money I don't have that I'm right, as it's a no-risk bet. These are partners in crime. The caption here, Joseph Cofer Black, the former director of CIA's counterterrorism, 1999 to 2002, and ambassador at large for counterterrorism, 2002-2004. Mr. Black is an internationally recognized authority on counterterrorism, cybersecurity, national security, and foreign affairs from Burisma's website. Brennan definitely had help in this. These terrorists had to have someone at the highest level in U.S. counterintelligence to let their mission come to pass and succeed by ignoring all warnings. They even took their flight training near my home, and I remember being locked down in Coral Springs, Florida after 911, where they lived for 3 days while the FBI went through their apartment just a few blocks away. And this is where Romney's man, Joseph Cofer Black, comes in. He was the partner in crime of John Brennan, the deep state master, as well as being Mitt Romney's national security advisor. Bad news for Mittens. And Cofer Black is the reason Romney is desperate to have President Trump's real investigation shut down. Also a fact. I thought we were talking about Ukraine. Yes, we are. But we just learned all of this through researching why Mitt Romney wanted to hide what happened in Ukraine and was willing to trash President Donald Trump to do it. That makes this all relevant and pretty damn interesting to me. As Obama's CIA director, John Brennan was also in charge of the Dirty Tricks campaign against then candidate Donald Trump. Another fact. All of that has now been uncovered by investigative reporters Greg Jarrett, The Russian Hoax, and Peter Schweizer, Secret Empires, with enough references to satisfy editor Harry and Nurse Ratched. Amazingly, the pilot was actually laid by the deep state in 2014 before they even knew Trump would be Hillary's foil in 2016. I found that part pretty amazing. The Ukraine-Russian story was created for whomever was the candidate to run against Hillary Clinton. No matter who got the presidency, if it wasn't Hillary, this Russian hoax story was going to come to pass on whomever it was. For John Brennan, it really didn't matter to him who ran on the Republican side. He just cared that whomever it was lost to the deep state's choice, Hillary Clinton. Brennan, Black, and James Clapper, James Comey, and a host of others were prepared to make sure of it. It was exposed just last week that Brennan flew under a fake passport to avoid detection on his trip to set this up in Eastern Europe as early as 2015. There is no explanation for a CIA director to do this unless what he was doing was illegal. Now, let's go back to Joseph Kofer Black. He is Romney's Ukraine man and Brennan's longtime associate who is still covering here in Eastern Europe from where I am reporting for the deep state in America. Brennan came back stateside from the Saudi Arabian CIA office the year after arranging for 911 attackers to get into America. So what did he do? He took over CIA counterintelligence from his partner, Kofer Black. Convenient, eh? And history repeats. The tag team is back at it. Barack Obama chose or was told to make John Brennan his CIA director. Brennan then sets up the Russian hoax through the Ukraine government and intel operatives covertly in 2015 to target any candidate who might face Hillary Clinton in 2016, and that is a fact. Once Trump became the Republican candidate, President Obama authorized illegal spying on Trump's campaign. We now know because it was labeled a counterintelligence operation, which can only be authorized by president. That is a fact. The script for the Ukraine-Russian hoax was actually written back in 2007 to use against Republican candidate John McCain. It was temporarily deployed, but then shut down and recycled when it was clear Rhino McCain would get his ass handed to him by Obama in 2008 without CIA involvement, and that's a fact. So Brennan decided to use the script in 2016. The Republicans' candidate would be targeted using the same plan, according to one of Obama's own Secret Service agents, now author Dan Bongino, in his new book, Exonerated, just come out a week ago, as of the writing of this back in November or whenever it was. The original script was written by Fusion GPS owner Glenn Simpson. That's the same man, the company who would be paid $12 million by the Clinton campaign, the Democrat National Committee, and the FBI in 2016 for the Steele dossier that caused the Russian hoax against Trump, though actually written years earlier. Glenn Simpson simply changed the names, and that is a fact. Excuse me. Unfortunately, there was a problem. Socialist Bernie Sanders was leading the Democrat side over the chosen Hillary and had to be eliminated. To achieve this, the Clintons literally did a forced takeover of the Democrat National Committee and its funds. They immediately cut off Hillary's rival, Bernie Sanders' campaign, as admitted by former DNC Director Donna Brazile on television, eliminating Bernie from that race. John Brennan then began leaking the dossier to congressional Democrats, including then House Speaker Harry Reid and their media co-conspirators, to begin the takedown of the Republican candidate Donald J. Trump. Ironically, Brennan also leaked the fake dossier to Senator John McCain, its original target, and McCain leaked it back to its original source, the FBI, to apply for warrants to spy on Trump using their own laundered information. The FBI literally paid for the fabricated information, leaked it to the media and politicians who hated Trump, then used their reports and that dossier when fed back to them to get warrants to spy on Trump. But then the kimchi hits the fan for real. Trump gets elected. So who jumps over to McCain to protect the conspiracy from being found out? Brennan's 911 partner, Joseph Kofer Black, within days of Trump's inauguration, was immediately put in place in Ukraine to prevent anyone from talking. The board of Burisma Holdings, the same center of Ukraine corruption used by Joe Biden in 2014 to enrich his kid, was the base from which to shield the Democrat origins of the Russian hoax and its intel roots from any real investigation. By February of 2017, Kofer Black was a voting member of the board of Burisma. caption under this photo, you'll hear the screams around the world this week as the Democrats realize that Trump has taken this investigation on personally rather than leaving it to the deep state vermin. Nice. It's all starting to fit together now, isn't it? So here's what to expect. Yes, there will be wailing aplenty and gnashing of teeth over coming days. And this is the point where the president's security needs to be at an all-time high because the deep state is spinning out of control and desperate. If the new leaders of the nation that aided Brennan Black and the Democrats, all of whom are admirers of Donald Trump, have investigated the crimes of their predecessors as Trump asked, he likely has the evidence on his desk rather than having it hidden by deep state criminals. I suppose the president is waiting to see who is running the UK, but may have spoken with Boris Johnson as well on his recent trip to London. We have no evidence of that, but this train has left the station regardless, and we made sure the president knew that England and Boris played a key role in the attempted coup against him before he left on Air Force One. How, you ask? Well, as Secretary of State, Boris Johnson was aware the GCHQ was spying on Trump for President Obama. Not only that, but Boho actually approved GCHQ Director Harrigan's renewal of Project Folsom, as requested by Obama's National Security Advisor, Susan Rice. We got a copy of that letter from a British intelligence whistleblower. Yes, we did. Director Harrigan announced his early resignation the day after President Trump's inauguration in 2017. Guilty feet ain't got no rhythm, I suppose. Caption: we made sure President Trump had a copy of the GCHQ request from Obama administration that Boris approved to continue spying on Trump and his family even after Trump was elected president. Then, this past Friday, it became known that President Trump had not only launched his own investigation with foreign leaders into the 2016 election tampering, but that it was almost complete. As soon as that happened, the freak out began. At 65 years of age, I've not seen one quite like it. The deep state was and is in paroxysms of unmitigated fear and psychosis. They ramped up an immediate media assault using the usual outlets: CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, and the Washington Post, and the same exact leaked specialists who put America through the Russian hoax. But the Pickering Post scooped them all. Copy of the letter. Caption: this letter alone proves the Obama administration ordered and authorized collusion with foreign governments to illegally spy on Trump, his business, and his family, even after he was elected president of the United States. The corruption is deep, folks. It's about time we start seeing it. The media spectacle on Friday past was immediately followed with a sua sponte announcement by Speaker Pelosi that she was impeaching the president, a power she does not possess, no matter how many cocktails she's had. A completely false narrative was spun of what was said in President Trump's phone call with Ukraine President Zelensky, knowing Trump would never allow them to have a copy of the classified transcript to disprove their lies. But guess what? Within 24 hours, in another act of unprecedented transparency, the Donald did just that. He released the full, unredacted transcript of the call, publicly proving them all to be Pinocchios. Their noses were growing long, and was starting to show. Panic was setting in for them for sure. And I just watched his attorney, Rudy Giuliani, announce that he is drafting a lawsuit to file against those who lied about his client, Donald Trump. Another unprecedented event to my knowledge. So the price of lying about the president is about to get expensive. And while Rudy's suit will be in civil court if proven that these public officials violated Trump's civil rights under color of law, it might become a criminal referral under 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, deprivation of rights under color of law, and a conspiracy to do so. That would be awesome. It's time that these people start paying the price. It's time that they start paying for their corruption. I personally believe this is why the president and his lawyers are doing it. Through the civil suit, they'll have the right of discovery to get records they could never access in any other way, like the letter above. By then, Trump's team will have enough evidence in the civil suit to refer the defendants for criminal prosecution by the Department of Justice. In the deep state's current state of mania, an assassination attempt is not only likely, but perhaps inevitable. I predict they will have one of their insiders still in the White House do it, or a foreign team, CIA trained, do the hit on his helicopter. Not a single CIA, DOJ, NSA, DNI, or Secret Service left over from Barack Hussein Obama should be allowed near him. And then all 17 illegal spy agencies that have so disgraced my nation should be shaken up, or even better, shut down. No leader in my nation's history would have the audacity to take on these evil forces or have a chance of winning other than Donald John Trump. And they will do everything possible to take him out before he gets them. In my opinion, we'll either have a presidential funeral followed by a descent into the darkness of socialism, or a brighter and better day with dozens of deep staters eating institutional food and wearing orange for life. I'm praying for door number 2. Howell Woltz, the International Center for Justice, Warsaw, Poland. All right, so that is the article in its entirety. An interesting read, no doubt. I pray for our president. I pray for our country. The Democratic Party, the DNC, they are very corrupt, very unhonest, very bad individuals that will stop at nothing to get their way. If you haven't seen that taking place already, and if you can't understand the words in this document that I just read to you, man, you're the problem. You're part of the problem. There's no doubt about it. The deep state, and we've been hearing this for years, but here's the catch, and that was in the last couple sentences in this article. Nobody would take them on. Nobody would take them on and win. That's why we have Donald Trump. Donald Trump was put in place. A divine intervention of God, or however you want to look at it. Donald Trump was put in place to save this country, to save America, to save the United States, to save our freedom. Because he will stand up for us, for you and me, for the American people, to keep us free, to keep us from turning into a socialist country where the government controls every aspect, every facet of our lives. And he is the man to do it. Not scared of nothing. People complain about the way he speaks. People complain about his arrogance. We need that. We don't need somebody who cowers, who fears death, who sells their soul for cash, for money. This man needs no money. This man made his own money. This man, he is America. No matter how you look at it, Those who hate him for a very good reason, because they are so corrupt, so dishonest, and their goals, their missions are to destroy us, you and me. They're after us. He's just the guy that's in the way. And thank God for our president, Donald J. Trump. Thank God for keeping him safe. We look forward to the next 4 years. Hopefully in that 4 years, the swamp can be drained completely. We need the corruption out of Washington, D.C. Those people work for us. They serve us. It's their job to take care of the American people, not line their greedy pockets. The Democratic National Party convention needs to be reined in, put in check. Several of them need to be in prison. The corruption needs to stop. It needs to stop today. Thank God for Donald Trump. God bless America. God bless Donald Trump. God bless you. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend.